Well, it kind of goes back to that if good people remain silent,
Right.
then evil dominates.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of like, let's take it back, or let's take it over.
Absolutely.
Let's control it. Let's bombard it.
Welcome back to Two Pentecostals and a Microphone. We got a real special episode for you guys. This is a live episode, our first live recording that we've done. What I mean by that is live in front of a studio audience, as opposed to what we normally do, just Jared and I. So I do want to say a couple things about this episode. I want to apologize for the sound quality. There's a lot of noise in it, and it was the way we recorded. We didn't have the proper equipment set up, so we have to suffer through the noise, and there's just no way around it. So I apologize for that, but I hope it's not too distracting, because this is a great conversation about reaching the lost with new technology and with old technology from two different perspectives, one from our pastor and one from our pastor's grandson. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Two Pentecostals and a Microphone. Welcome to Two Pentecostals and a Microphone, or I should say, welcome to a plethora of Pentecostals and a microphone.
About 50 Pentecostals and 4 microphones.
Yeah. So we are recording a live episode today. Well, live in front of an audience, rather.
For the first time.
For the first time. So what are we going to talk about today, Jared?
So I'm going to read a scripture first before we start. Matthew 28:19 and 20. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the world. Amen. So we are told to go.
Right.
Did I just lose? Oh, there we go. We're told to go, to teach, and to baptize. And it's about going out and making disciples. It's about evangelism, but more than just reaching people, it's about discipling people.
Right.
So this is our command. And we want to talk a little bit about the amazing opportunities that are coming about for evangelism in the church with the advent of new technologies. And this being one of them. But and it may be new to some people, but podcasts, not ours, but podcasts in general seem to be taking over the world. They're everywhere. They're extremely popular. Not necessarily ours, but a lot of them are. So this is one of those technologies, but we're going to talk about a few others.
So I guess just briefly we can talk about the podcast. We'll just start.
Yeah, let's start there real quick.
Yeah.
And then we'll get on past that. So Two Pentecostals and a Microphone is our podcast. Of course, those listening to the podcast know that already.
Right.
But it's not everyone in the room does. We have just, as of this week, and this is news to everybody here except for me and Bryce, we just hit 7,000 downloads of our podcast this week, which I feel like it's not a big number for most podcasts, but for what we're doing, I feel
it deserves
great about
a steak dinner for sure.
A steak? Who's buying?
I don't know.
So I think this is interesting. You want to read the stats on our top 3 cities? So
yeah.
Let me just say, when we started, our top 10 cities were all in Indiana. And they were basically like Greenwood, Franklin, Columbus, Seymour, Bargersville, whatever. So our top 3 cities this month.
Yeah, we're global.
Global.
Top 3, Paris, France, of all places.
Yeah, number 3.
I guess we got to start speaking French. But
I don't know if they understand it, but they listen.
Houston, Texas, and San Jose, California are our top 3 cities that are, I guess, the most listeners.
Yeah, most listeners.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if that's one guy in Paris who downloaded and listened to all of our episodes, or if that's, 15 guys who listen to one episode each. I don't know, or people. But yeah, those are our top 3 cities, and we've actually had a listener on every continent in the last 30 days, except for Antarctica. I don't know if there's any apostolic people in Antarctica, but
that's our goal.
I know there's not a church yet.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of amazing, really, that we could start something in a spare room at Bryce's house with just a laptop and a couple $100 worth of equipment and reach more people than I thought we would reach.
Yeah. Certainly, I don't know. I didn't expect it to be as global as it is. I find that every time we get new listeners, I'm just like, really? Wow. I mean, it's kind of cool, but I have no idea who these people are. But I feel like, as the new technology comes and as we grow with the podcast and stuff, we have an opportunity to really reach people with the message, with the apostolic truth, and that's kind of what we're doing. I mean, we discuss many different things as far as music and faith and culture and
Everything.
Yeah, that applies to the Pentecostal faith. But bottom line is, we are just 2 apostolics from little old Seymour, Indiana, just reaching Paris, France.
And it's amazing. I know it's amazing to me that we've actually had we have a lot of listeners who are not apostolic. So I thought starting out that it would be all apostolic people and we'll be preaching to the choir, and it was just a discussion, so I thought that's okay. But actually we've got a lot of people who are not necessarily apostolic. They're maybe Church of God. We have several Catholic listeners. I'm surprised after our series on the Reformation. We didn't scare them all away, but we have Catholic listeners. We have a lot of different denominations, which I find surprising. But I think it's a great way. Not everybody's going to start a podcast. Let's face it, most people don't want to. It's a lot of work. We don't get paid. We don't make a dime. Actually, it costs us money every month. And we just love to do it. Right. So not everybody's going to do that, but it's amazing that now in 2019 you can reach out from a spare room in your house and reach the world. So moving on to the church, let me ask Pastor Arrowood first of all. You've been pastor here for a long time now, 30 years, and you've seen a lot as far as evangelism goes and the tools. Now, I want to make it clear that this doesn't, technology can't replace face-to-face evangelism, and it can't replace one-on-one discipleship, but you've seen a lot of technological developments, and you've seen a lot of them used for evangelism, probably. We talked about, maybe you could just give me some insight on what some of those might be.
Well, of course, we used to use radio to a certain degree, but it was almost cost prohibitive. I don't remember back in the day what it cost, but they charged you so much per 30 minutes or whatever. If you were fortunate, you would get asked to come on for free, but you didn't necessarily have the liberty at that point that you would have liked. But we had radio. When I first came to Seymour, we had a mimeograph machine. Anybody in the house remember what those were?
I don't even have any. I've never heard of one.
And you basically had a carbon that you typed on it and made impressions that the ink seeped through. And of course, if you made a mistake, you were in a lot of trouble. But you had a little whiteout that you used that was like a rubber base, and you had to try to type back over the same letter. then you would run it off. You would crank it off. And I can remember being downstairs in the little print room here. We'd be there every Saturday afternoon cranking off the church bulletins, where now, you know, you have multiple people from all over the area sending in notices to the bulletin, and it's compiled and printed off in just a matter of minutes. Easy corrections. Sometimes in the middle of it, we'll realize we've made a mistake, so you just shut it down, and 5 minutes later it's all corrected. But so we had the old mimeograph, and it was mostly walking the streets, knocking on doors, handing out tracts. Some of those things were more acceptable back then than they are today. I think it's more intrusive today on people's lives. They don't necessarily like it. Some do. Some people enjoy a visit, but it was everything that you did was took a lot of energy, a lot of time, and sometimes quite a bit of money.
Right. And I think that's one of the great things about the way we've been utilizing Facebook for our services. So we have Facebook Live. I'm sure probably everyone knows that our services are available online live when they happen, and then you can watch them after the fact if you have Facebook. And the reason, now, I tell me if I'm off track here. I might be off track, but I think the reason we do it on Facebook as a platform rather than just recording it and putting it on our website is that that's where everybody is. They're already there on Facebook. Now, not everyone has a Facebook account, but we can reach so many more people so much more easily.
I think it's a lot easier. Andrew could answer the question more, but it has to be posted on our website versus at the end of the service.
It ran smoother. And then reach.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to ask Matthew, and we've got some numbers here, which I think are kind of amazing. They blow my mind, really. So, in the last 7 days, our Facebook page, our church Facebook page, has had 4,800 video views. So those are ads. Or not ads, but like promotional videos that we've done for different things. They may be service videos, and some of those are short views. Somebody may watch the whole video. I don't know. It depends. But those are the way they measure it is 3 seconds or longer view, which means that they got something out of it. They probably at least heard a sentence, you know. So beyond that, they may have turned it off after that, or they may have watched the whole thing. But talk about a couple of our highest viewed videos, because I think this is pretty amazing. There's two that I wanted to highlight, which is the response to the View, which was your dad, Brother Aaron Arrowood, and then a video that Sister Sophia Maines did and she was young. I don't know, it's been a couple years ago probably. She was probably, 17 at the time or something like that. And it was about feminism, and it was called Feminism is Stealing My Femininity. I knew I would mess that word up, but I didn't do it. That was awesome. Femininity. That's a difficult word. And she said it like 100 times in that video. I don't know how she did it. So those videos, can you just read some of the stats and just kind of explain to people that maybe people that aren't familiar with Facebook?
Sure. Oh, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on.
You're welcome.
Also, Bryce, thank you for the heads up that we'd be in front of people. I had no idea until 10 minutes ago. So I apologize if I stumble around. I thought we were going to be upstairs in the conference room during church. No, this is completely different. But so the response to the View, it reached 64,687 people. It had 35,541 views, 19,041 people engagement. So I guess that would be people who...
Well, yeah, they did something. So basically engagement, and Drew probably, he does a lot of our video, well, most of our video stuff probably at this point. But basically an engagement with a video would be they liked it or they shared it or did something with it. Commented, liked, commented, or maybe hated it, or the angry face, it depends.
Gotcha. So, you can tell I'm the expert. I know. Yeah, I don't even know what engagement means. But
that's it.
And then it was shared 1,123 times. So just right there, it's incredible that just with one video, just posting it on the internet, so many people were reached so quickly. And then not only did we reach people directly from the page, but then it was shared. So that means people posted it on their accounts and then showed it to their friends and people who probably aren't even connected with the tabernacle. They did that 1,123 times. So it's so incredible now how easy it is to access people and be able to show them things. And the thing that I was thinking about while Grandpa was talking, Brother Arrowood was talking, is, it's easier now, but I think what is cool, there's something interesting about nowadays what's going on is as the internet gets bigger and as social media sites get bigger and more intrusive on other people's privacy, people have become more private in their actual lives, like outside of the computer. So whenever you see someone at school or someone at work or anything, they don't necessarily want to just engage in casual conversation. They just want to come there, do what they came to do, and leave. But when they get on the internet and they go onto Facebook and Instagram, as soon as they're on there, that is when they're kind of letting the whole world know, I'm ready to talk to people. I'm ready to share with people. I want to share with people what I'm doing. I want people to share with me what they're doing. So the coolest part about social media is when people are looking at your stuff and when you're communicating with people, you don't have to worry about them not wanting to talk to you. They want to talk to somebody. That's why they're on social media. So it's an automatic tell that they want to be there. They want to engage with somebody. So you don't have to be afraid that you're infringing on their privacy or infringing on their time. That's why they're on there.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that particularly. I was thinking how, when you were talking, how I've heard people say before, we've moved from a front porch to a backyard with a privacy fence kind of society.
Yeah.
But you're right. If they're on social media, then they are expecting to engage. And people, not only do they share stuff on social media, but some people share everything on social media.
Things they shouldn't share.
Absolutely. Things you shouldn't share probably ever. But unfortunately, but so it's easy to engage. Mm-hmm. There's not really that barrier with social media. So, okay. And then feminism is stealing my femininity is the other video.
Yeah. And that reached 501,675 people, so 500,000 people.
That's 500,000 people.
That's incredible.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
And it's interesting the responses to that. It really ruffles some feathers. And it was just a teenager sharing her opinion, but wow. And they wouldn't, the parents would not let Sophia look at the responses.
Yeah. Right.
Some of them were very, very
it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it was one of those that I assumed as soon as it went online that it would get both, a lot of likes and loves, and then a lot of angry faces, and it did. And I think that's though is why it had the reach that it did. It really had some legs on it. I mean, that 500,000 people.
It's a really popular subject.
Yeah, and it is. Okay, so that was the reach. So that's how many people were reached by it. They saw the post. They could have interacted with it, but
256,679 people actually watched it, and then 106,955 people engaged it. So they left a comment, or they liked it, or they put a little heart, or they had a thumbs down, or whatever. And then it was shared 4,221 times. So it went onto 4,221 other accounts besides the tabernacle. So other people outside the tabernacle's Facebook page were able to view it that aren't connected with the tabernacle at all. So that's incredible in itself. So yeah.
And one of those shares actually, I was looking down, you could see some of them you can see, some of them you can't, like actually who shared it, depending on how the privacy settings are. But there was one account that shared it that had 1,200 views just on their share. So that's pretty substantial. So if you have somebody who is, a little famous, like this was an apostolic account, so it went out to a lot of other apostolic people probably, but it increases. You can exponentially increase your reach with these tools.
Yeah.
So
can I say
go
one
ahead.
more thing? So what I wanted to say was, it's back in the day when there would be things happening on the main stage in the United States or in the world, the church, the way they engaged those problems and different things is they would usually talk about it in the pulpit, or they would talk about it inside the church. So only the people that were in the church, or people that were friends of people that were in the church, would get to hear what the pastor had to say about it, or hear what the church thought about the situation. But now, so like The View, which is a super, super liberal talk show with people like Oprah Winfrey, and not Oprah Winfrey, Whoopi Goldberg, and some other people that you wouldn't want to listen to. That everything that comes out of their mouth, it's fun. But they had, who was it? Was it Mike Pence? They were talking about Mike Pence, and they were discussing how they were talking about how he talks to God, and they're like, oh, that's great. I talk to God. Whoopi Goldberg is like, yeah, I'm an incredible Christian. I talk to God. It's incredible. But then she's like, but then he talks about how God talks back to him. And she's like, now that's messed up. And they're all talking about how, their experiences with God is so normal, but Mike Pence is delusional because he's hearing voices. So we got our vice president hearing voices, and he says it's Jesus. So they directly attacked the vice president of the United States in his spiritual standpoint. And so, as they were really attacking us as well, because we have the exact same standards. So instead of us just being able to talk about it in the pulpit, being able to talk about it inside the church, we were able to directly address the entire world and say, hey, this is what we think about it. This is what the UPCI thinks about it. And we want to have a say in this. We want to be able to defend our position and be able to say what's going on here. And then also with the feminism, the liberal party the Democrats are they're so much they're into this whole what am I trying to say? But they're about this movement that's overtaking traditional values, that's overtaking what America is built upon. They're all about these things that are they're tearing down the very foundation which our nation is built upon. Instead of us just being able to talk about it inside the church and being able to just discuss it among ourselves, we're able to take our message, take what we think, and put it out there for the world, not only to see it and to reflect upon it, but to be able to respond and engage and possibly even draw some people in that feel the same way as we do, but they're too scared to let their opinion be shared. So we let our opinion be shared as a group, and then they're able to take part in that. So it gives people liberty and gives people the ability to share and to take part in that discussion. So
I might just say here that in the past, a lot of times, the only thing that the world heard about us was what our enemies wrote and said.
Yeah.
But now we have a platform where we can tell the world exactly what we believe.
That's right.
Well, and we've seen, and obviously I don't want to make any of this political at all, but you've seen this with this administration, how the democratization of information and just how much easier it is to get information out. President Trump has done that with, if you love him or you hate him, he has done that with Twitter. I think he saved Twitter. Twitter is a social media platform that I think was probably on his way out.
Making Twitter great again.
But he's making Twitter great again. I mean, because he tweets all the time. The time. And he doesn't need anybody else to report on what he has to say. Now, you can love that or hate it, but he directly relates what he wants to say to the people that he thinks needs to hear it, which, I think that's a great opportunity to get, like you said, get your message out direct.
And to even to realize that there are countries that we can't even take the gospel to. I mean, if we had the money or someone willing to go, we're not allowed. But via a podcast like this, those people can find you behind that iron curtain. They can find you.
Yeah, that's a good point. And with and they may have no internet or no access to certain things on the internet, maybe no access to the internet, But in some places where they have limited access, like China, people use things called virtual private networks. I think it's like what it is, VPN. And I've actually talked to a couple people in a language. I wasn't learning Mandarin, but I was learning Spanish. But there was a guy in this group, this language learning group online, on Facebook actually, who was in China trying to learn English, but he couldn't use Facebook because he was in China, and they had blocked it at the time. I don't know if it's still blocked or not, but he was using a VPN, and he was able to talk to people in this room with anonymity in this group, this chat group. So it's really amazing. Like, there are people that aren't legally allowed to hear the gospel who probably do hear because our services go out. It's not just people in the U.S. that are watching them. About every Sunday, we have somebody, in the Philippines or somewhere that's watching, different places in the world. So there are a lot of people from the Philippines, it seems like. Mm-hmm. And there are people, and you think about the Apostolic Church, and of course we think in terms that we understand, which is local, and then the United States, and then probably, European countries. But there's apostolic churches in the jungle in New Guinea, Papua New Guinea. There's a guy on Facebook that I see. He's an evangelist, and he friend requested me. He posts pictures every day where he's going and visiting a family, or he's going to visit a church. He hand paints signs for churches, and it's really cool. And he'll somebody gets baptized or gets the Holy Ghost, he's posting it. And they're literally in the jungle, but he has a smartphone, and our services are reaching those people that are almost completely off the grid, except for that smartphone, and they can they are hungry for more. It's amazing. Yeah. Like he actually messaged me and said, "Do you have any way that you could send me MP3s or something of sermons?" So I directed him to our church Facebook page so he could watch online, because he just wants to hear more sermons. That's all he does. He wants to listen.
Can I add one more thing on that?
Yeah.
One of the coolest stories I heard, there was we know this person. It's a certain person in a certain country who's a missionary to that country, and they have contacts with people in another certain country. What they have is it's an online church. They're not able to meet together because of certain laws and things restricting their freedom of speech. So they meet online, I think once a week or twice a week, and he'll deliver a sermon online. They'll all be there listening or reading. I can't remember if it's a video or if he types it out. But what he'll do is whenever someone wants to be baptized, they'll say, okay, we'll meet here at this time, at this place, and they'll all come together, baptize them, and then they'll all go their separate ways. So I think, it's just another example of how technology is so cool, and how, even though it's used for evil on a daily basis, we can use it for good in a big, big way. So.
Absolutely. So we talked about, Facebook Live, our church videos reaching out to so many people, and we talked about the podcast, and I have a blog, and my blog I'm not really sharing the gospel. It's just random. I don't think I've had 2 posts in a row that were on a similar subject. It's just a personal blog. But over the last few years, I've written on it, and sometimes it is actually a lot of times it is around themes of faith and things like that. But I've had about 1,500 readers a month, which blew my mind, because I don't even promote it or anything. It just, over doing it for several years, you get more and more people, more and more traffic. And Pastor Arrowood, though, on the other hand, has reached probably tens of thousands of people. How many people do you think have read your books?
I don't know.
Would there be any way to know?
Yeah, we could trace the sales of the books,
right?
But like I'll go into JCB, and one of the tellers will say, "I need to get another one of your books because I loaned it to my mother, and she loaned it to her friend, and she loaned it to a group, and I don't think I'm ever going to get it back." So
that's great.
So yeah, once you put something in print, be it either a book or as you're doing with your podcast, once it's out there, it just goes on and on.
It does, and it gets a lot of life. And your book, Overcoming Temptation, as well as Suffering with Purpose, both of those I've given away. a couple times each. And, if you know somebody that's going through something where those are applicable, and I always have a lot of books, way too many books anyway, but there's always a few that I can grab and give to somebody. And those two are a couple of them, and there's a couple of others too that I just give away. And then as soon as I see a copy, I'll buy it, and then knowing I'll probably give it away eventually. But the Gutenberg press is something we talked about earlier, just for a minute. And that was a technological innovation, many, many, many hundred years ago. And you said it really opened the door, out of the Dark Ages, I think is how you put it.
It was the door out of the Dark Ages, absolutely. And we're so far advanced now that I really feel that the church needs to take every available opportunity that's been given to us. We have the basics, and it will all eventually. It tends to go back to that one-on-one, but to wade through the thousands of people to find that one that wants to hear the gospel, it takes time, and I think this sometimes is a means to get through some of that.
Absolutely. I think it's also, we're talking about new technologies, and I know a lot of people get kind of scared about that. But I think it's important to realize that these are just tools. These are methods and tools that we can use to reach out. It doesn't replace church. It doesn't replace the one-on-one. And certainly doesn't replace, the gathering of God's people, of like-minded people in fellowship. And that's not what we're trying to achieve and accomplish.
No, not at all.
It's just a matter of reaching the world. If every knee is going to bow and every tongue will confess, in my mind growing up, I would think, how in the world is that ever going to happen? But, as we sit here today, we're reaching thousands, and we're reaching, 500,000 people just with one video. It's really incredible.
And it's not just those, I picked those two videos because they had those were our most shared and most watched, but those are very unique, but it's not like all the other videos have 10 views. We're seeing an average on our church services, I think it's hard to guess because somebody will watch for a while, then they'll have to go do something else, and they'll leave, and then somebody else will come in and watch. So it goes up and down the whole time. But I think probably around 100 people over the course of the live stream would. Right. Okay. So yeah, last Sunday about 100, and then over 1,000 over the course of a week or so. Yeah, we've been promoting that event, but I think over the life of a video, which the life of a service is a couple weeks probably, and then it kind of gets lost down the stream, and you got new ones coming out. But over the life of a church service video, we're averaging either close to or maybe a little over 1,000 views altogether. Views, over in that video. So like a lot of times by Sunday night, we've got a few hundred or 800 maybe even, and then by the end of the next week, you might have another few hundred. So you're hitting the 1,000 mark pretty regularly. So the outreach is pretty consistent. And I think Bryce mentioned sometimes people are afraid of new technology and what it means, or or that it will make you lazy. And new technology can make us lazy. And it has made a lot. Actually, new technology has made me lazy in some ways. Some things are just too easy, So it's true, and all the things that you think about technology are true. Technology can be used for evil and is on an everyday basis. And when you think about the internet, I think it was over. I don't remember what the stat was. It was a few years ago. Even there were over 1 billion pornographic websites on the internet, and it's just it's not slowing down. It's more and more and more and more. And that's always going to be that way. Now, I feel like that a tool like the internet or like Facebook or specific social media platforms, whatever it is, a podcast, all these things can be used for evil. And this has already been said probably, but I think Matthew might have mentioned this, but and people will use it for evil, but we can, and I think we are obligated to use it for good. And we may not ever have as many apostolic websites as there are pornographic websites. That's not going to happen, probably. But we can shine a light in the world that reaches hundreds of thousands of people through these new technologies. So I think what is...
well, it kind of goes back to that if good people remain silent,
right,
then evil dominates.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of like, let's take it back, or let's take it over.
Absolutely.
Let's control it. Let's bombard it. At the same time, though, making sure that we have controls for our children, the young minds, and
right.
And you can do those things, but technology is here to stay. It's not going away. So you can use it for good. You can refuse to use it for evil, but certainly don't stick our head in the sand and pretend it's not there, for it is.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. So I think we should. Sorry. I thought you looked ready.
Well, I feel ready if you want.
Yeah,
I mean, okay. But like the way I think some people look at it is, like you got Tim Hawkins. He'll take a secular song and he'll put Christian words to it. Okay, I like Tim Hawkins, but it's silly. But I don't think that's what the internet is like. I think that's how some people look at it. It's like, oh, you're just taking the internet and you're trying to apostolicize it, or that I just made up a word. But and I think some people think of it that way. But no, it's like anything else. It's like a spoon, or it's like a gun, or anything. It's not evil in itself, or it's not good in itself. It's who possesses it that makes it good or evil. And so I think it's just another tool out there that I think everybody should utilize for good. And I think we need to take advantage of it, just like we've been talking about.
Absolutely. So I think this is. I think it's one of those things. It's not a new strategy. It's a new tool.
Yeah.
So it's part of the bigger strategy, and that's just, we're trying to fulfill the mission. We're trying to reach the lost. We're trying to reach the world. That's the mission. And I believe that we can use these new things as they come about if we use them wisely.
Yeah.
And if we make sure that we don't lose that one-on-one discipleship, then we can make this an effect. So it can be an effective part of the church's outreach and our individual personal outreach with acquaintances. So just be aware of that. Be aware of that. It's another tool in your toolkit, and don't be afraid to use it. People don't have to watch, but share it far and wide. And I think the results speak for themselves. So thank you for sitting with us. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. I know we did.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Two Pentecostals and a Microphone. I just want to give a huge thanks to Pastor Arrowood and his grandson, Matthew Arrowood, for joining us today on this panel discussion about the growth through technology. The numbers are truly staggering, and it's just amazing on the reach we can do in just a matter of one video, or one podcast, or one blog post, or even just a simple post on Facebook can reach somebody that we never thought we could otherwise. I think that's why it's so important that we continue to grow in this medium, that we continue to utilize these tools for our advantage, because we all know that the enemy is doing this. The enemy is using these tools to reach millions and millions of people. Well, we need to stand firm with the truth and fight back. And I believe that's what we're doing. You know, Jesus called us in the Great Commission to take the gospel to the whole world. You know, make disciples. One-on-one, reach people. How are we going to do that? Well, what better time than now when we, at our fingertips, have the capabilities of reaching someone all the way in China or India or Africa or South America or even next door. Please consider using these tools to reach this lost and dying world. I thank you all for listening today on Two Pentecostals and a Microphone. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, you can reach us through any social media, whatever. We're almost on every platform, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. Just search for @2Pentecostals and it should come up. Leave a review, a comment, like it, share it. We really do appreciate the comments. We really do appreciate the feedback, and we really do appreciate the shares and the listens. Thank you for sticking with us through all of this, and we do have some exciting news come up that we will share with you in the very near future, so we have something to look forward to. Thanks again for listening to Two Pentecostals and a Microphone.